Welcome to RP Revenge.
The sound of my heels echoed across the marble floor, sharp and deliberate, like the ticking of a clock counting down to something inevitable. The courtroom smelled of old wood, disinfectant, and quiet judgment. I hadn't been here since the hearing 6 months ago, the day my world fell apart and my family turned their backs on me. As I stepped through the heavy oak doors, my parents' heads turned in unison. My mother's lips tightened. My father rolled his eyes, that same dismissive look he'd worn since I was a child, when disappointment came easier to him than understanding. But today something was different. The judge looked up from her bench, just for a split second, but her eyes flickered with something like surprise. I didn't miss it. No one expected me to show up again, least of all my parents. I took my seat quietly, but my hands trembled under the table. My lawyer, Clara, leaned toward me and whispered, "You're doing great. Just breathe." I nodded, though the air around me felt thin. Across the aisle sat my brother, Daniel, the golden child, the reason we were here. His jaw was clenched, his hair immaculately slicked back, his expression carefully neutral. But when our eyes met, a flash of something ugly flickered there. Fear. Guilt. I couldn't tell anymore. 'Cause I used to love my brother. I used to believe he'd always protect me. Until he stole everything. Started a year ago. My parents had always trusted Daniel to handle their finances. Investments, savings, their retirement accounts. I didn't mind. I was the artist of the family, the dreamer, as they called me. Half compliment, half insult. They never took me seriously, not even when I opened my own gallery in downtown Chicago. When I asked for help with a small loan to expand my studio, they refused. "We're not a charity, Emily," my father said flatly. "Be more like your brother. He knows how to make money, not waste it." I bit my tongue. I didn't tell them that Daniel had borrowed $50,000 from me 2 years earlier, for a short-term investment. He'd never paid it back. And when I finally asked for it, his tone changed. Don't be dramatic," he said over the phone. "You know I'm handling Mom and Dad's portfolio. It's all intertwined. You'll get your cut when the returns hit." Returns. Portfolio. He made it sound like I was a shareholder in a company, not his sister trusting him with her savings. But I did trust him, until one afternoon, when I opened my banking app and saw my account drained to nearly zero. Every penny of the inheritance Mom's late sister left me, gone. My first instinct wasn't anger. It was confusion. Maybe a bank error. Maybe a transfer delay. But then the notifications came, one after another. Confirmation emails from Daniel's investment firm. His digital signature on every withdrawal. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. "Relax," he said, sipping his drink like it was just another Tuesday. "It's being reinvested. You'll thank me when it doubles." "I didn't authorize that," I said, my voice shaking. He smirked. "You did. Don't you remember signing the joint investment forms last Christmas?" My mind went blank. He was talking about the stack of papers he'd handed me after dinner, saying it was tax stuff for Mom and Dad's trust. I hadn't even read them. I just signed like an idiot. And that was the moment I realized he'd played me. When I told my parents, they refused to believe me. "Daniel would never do that," my mother said, shaking her head. "You must have misunderstood. You always overreact." I begged them to look at the documents. I showed them the bank statements, the forged signatures, the transfers to Daniel's account. But my father only sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "This obsession of yours is getting out of hand. You're jealous of your brother. You've always been." Jealous. The word hit harder than I expected. That night, I packed a small suitcase and left their house, vowing never to return. The months that followed were hell. Daniel filed a defamation suit against me, claiming I'd damaged his reputation by spreading false allegations. My parents testified for him. I remember sitting in the witness box during that first hearing, feeling like a ghost. The lawyer's questions blurred into noise, but the betrayal, my own mother looking at me with pity instead of love, was louder than anything. And then, 3 weeks later, the evidence vanished. Emails disappeared. Signed papers were misplaced. My brother's firm claimed no record of my investments existed. My lawyer said it looked bad. "We can't win this without proof," she whispered, her tone heavy with apology. I thought that was the end of it. Until 3 nights ago. I was cleaning my apartment when the doorbell rang. A courier handed me a sealed envelope with no return address. Inside was a single USB drive. When I plugged it in, I froze. Video footage. Time-stamped recordings from a hidden camera in Daniel's office. There he was, my brother, bragging to a colleague about bleeding Emily dry, and convincing mom and dad she's mentally unstable. He laughed. They laughed. And then came the sentence that changed everything. "By the time she figures out the trust's been shifted into my name, it'll be too late. Even the judge can't help her." I stared at the screen until the video ended. My hands went cold. My stomach turned. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I'd forwarded everything to my lawyer. And now, here I was, back in the courtroom, facing the family that had destroyed me. "Ms. Carter," the judge's voice cut through my thoughts. "Do you wish to submit new evidence?" "Yes, Your Honor," Clara said, standing. "We received a digital file containing video evidence directly related to the financial misconduct in question." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Proceed." Clara connected her laptop to the courtroom monitor. The video began to play. Silence filled the room. The sound of my brother's laughter echoed across the chamber. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's eyes widened, then darted toward me. For once they didn't roll. When the video ended, the room stayed still. Even Daniel looked pale. "Where did you get that?" he demanded, his voice cracking. Clara didn't answer. She didn't have to. The judge turned to him, her tone sharp. "Mr. Carter, do you deny that this recording depicts you?" He hesitated. This could be doctored. Anyone could." But the judge cut him off. "We'll verify its authenticity immediately. Until then, I am issuing a temporary injunction on all disputed funds." She turned toward me. "Ms. Carter, thank you for your patience. I suspect we're only beginning to uncover the truth." For the first time in months, I felt something like air return to my lungs. But deep down, beneath the flicker of relief, there was something else. Something darker. Because I hadn't told anyone who sent that video. And I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The moment the judge called for recess, my knees went weak. I sat there, barely hearing the murmurs rising around the courtroom, the shuffle of papers, the creak of benches, the hushed panic of Daniel whispering furiously to his lawyer. My mother wouldn't even look at me. My father's jaw was tight, his face pale beneath the fluorescent light. I didn't feel triumph. Felt hollow. It wasn't justice yet. Just a pause in the storm. And somewhere deep down I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Clara placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We'll have forensic analysts verify the footage," she said. "If it's legit, Daniel's done." Her words should have brought me relief, but something about them twisted in my gut. Because even as I replayed that footage in my mind, one question kept echoing louder than the rest. Who recorded it? That night, I sat in my apartment with the blinds drawn, my phone buzzing with notifications. Missed calls from my mother, voicemails from unknown numbers, a text from Daniel that simply read, "You have no idea what you've started, Emily." I deleted it. Then I poured myself a glass of wine that went untouched. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint drip from the kitchen sink, the scratch of my cat's claws against the hardwood. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt watched. At midnight, I opened my laptop again and replayed the footage. The camera angle was strange. Slightly tilted, placed somewhere behind a bookshelf. The voice in the background, the one Daniel was bragging to, was muffled but familiar. Too familiar. Took me 3 rewinds before I placed it. It was my father. The realization hit like a physical blow. I turned the volume up, my pulse racing. My father wasn't laughing. He was quiet, responding with short, clipped words. But he was there, present, listening. And he hadn't stopped Daniel. I felt my throat tighten. A dozen memories flooded back. Their shared drinks in the study, their secret business talks. The way my father had always defended him. They hadn't just ignored my pain. They'd been part of it. The betrayal I thought I understood suddenly felt much deeper, more twisted. I picked up my phone with shaking hands and called Clara. "We need to look at the metadata on that video," I said. "I think my father was there." She hesitated. "Emily, that could complicate things. If your father was involved, it means the source wasn't anonymous," I finished. "Someone wanted me to see it." 2 days later, Clara called me back. Her tone was tight, measured. "The video's authentic," she said. "No edits, no deepfakes. But there's something else. The file originated from an encrypted email address. Registered to your mother." Froze. "My mother?" "Yes. The timestamps show it was sent from her device 3 days before you received it." The world seemed to tilt. My mother, the woman who called me unstable, who took Daniel's side, who told me to apologize for accusing him, had been the one to send me the proof that destroyed him. Why? I didn't sleep that night. I drove to my parents' house the next morning, long before sunrise, the streets still slick with rain. My car headlights cut through the fog as I pulled into the familiar driveway. The house looked the same, pristine, symmetrical, heartbreakingly ordinary. But when my mother opened the door, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Emily," she said softly, her voice trembling. "You shouldn't be here. I know you sent the video." Her eyes glistened with tears. She didn't deny it. "Come inside," she whispered. The living room was dim, curtains half drawn. My father's briefcase sat on the table, papers scattered like confetti from a fight. "He doesn't know I sent it," my mother said, sitting across from me. Her hands shook as she clutched her teacup. "He thinks Daniel deleted everything. But she stopped, her voice breaking. "I made a copy." "Why?" "Yes. You defended him. You defended both of them. You looked me in the eye and called me a liar." "I had to," she whispered. "Your father was controlling everything. The accounts, the trust, even my cards. I couldn't risk him knowing I doubted him. He would have frozen me out completely." I swallowed hard. "So you let them ruin me." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I thought Daniel would stop before it got this far. I thought your father would protect you. But when I heard them, when I heard how they laughed about you, I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore." Her voice broke on the last word. For a long moment I couldn't speak. I wanted to rage, to scream at her for her silence, her cowardice. But instead I just sat there, feeling the strange collision of pity and fury inside me. Because she was still protecting herself, even now. And I realized something brutal in that moment. She hadn't sent the video to save me. She'd sent it because she was scared for herself. The trial resumed the following week. Daniel was officially charged with embezzlement and perjury. My father was named an accessory for enabling the financial transfers through his firm. My mother didn't testify. She sat in the back, veiled by silence, her eyes flickering between all of us like a ghost trapped between loyalties. The courtroom was colder this time. Or maybe I was. When the judge read her verdict, declaring Daniel guilty of fraud and ordering restitution of the stolen funds, I didn't feel joy. I didn't even feel vindicated. I felt the faint ache of something I'd never get back. Family. After the hearing, I walked past them without a word. My brother refused to meet my gaze. My father muttered something to his lawyer. My mother reached out as I passed, her fingers brushing mine. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I just wanted the truth to come out." I looked at her, this woman who had raised me, doubted me, betrayed me, then handed me the weapon that destroyed her own son, and said quietly, "You didn't want the truth. You wanted absolution." Then I walked out. Weeks passed. The press called it the Carter family scandal. My gallery received sudden attention. Curiosity more than admiration. People love tragedy when it's neatly packaged. But I didn't want fame. I wanted peace. One evening, while closing the gallery, I found an envelope slipped under the door. No name. Just my initials. Inside was a short handwritten note. You think the truth sets you free. Doesn't. Just changes who you are. No signature. But I knew the handwriting. My mother's. I stared at the words until they blurred, then folded the paper carefully and tucked it into my coat pocket. She was right. The truth hadn't freed me. It had carved something out of me. Something irretrievable. I'd won the case, but lost the illusion that family meant safety. When I left the courtroom that final day, the judge had looked surprised. Maybe she saw something in me that I hadn't yet recognized. The quiet, irreversible transformation of someone who'd been betrayed, broken, and rebuilt, not with forgiveness but with clarity. I used to think betrayal destroys love. Now I know it simply reveals what love never was. And that knowledge, as cruel as it is, felt like justice.